I am just going to dive into this. I don't want to take up too much of your time on a Friday. I am simply going to get started. So, the two things that we're going to be talking about today are the new feature releases of multiple images on products and services and the 360 product view. And that's what we call it internally, but basically, I'm going to just walk you through what exactly that means. So, the first thing that I want to talk about, like I mentioned, is multiple images. This is something that I've wanted to see for a long time. And to give you context as to why these things are being released right now, everything that we do at Ivy is a step-by-step process. So the ultimate goal with gearing up for room boards, which are coming in March, like beginning of March, was to put into place a couple of things. First of all, adding images to services, adding multiple images to products, and this 360 view. So all of these things are a part of the timeline for the eventual release of room boards in March, which is really exciting. It's, I know, hopefully going to improve a lot of your workflow. I know that a lot of people have been asking for room board or for multiple images for a while. So let's just dive into it. There are two different ways that you can add images to your products, two images or two ways from the get-go. So I'm going to start with the Ivy Clipper because the Ivy Clipper, as the Google Chrome extension, by the way, we've added, due to multiple images, we've made some updates to the Clipper. So if you're having any sort of lacking functionality with the Clipper, I would simply recommend uninstalling and reinstalling the Clipper, and that should hopefully resolve it. Of course, another way to just ensure that you are getting the best experience is to clear your cache and cookies on Google Chrome. So that's one thing that you could do. But so what I'm going to do is actually enable the Clipper. I'm on a vendor's website called The Citizenry. I found this pillow that I think is really cute. And I want to show you how the multiple images works directly from the Clipper. So the first thing that you're going to do is simply enable the Clipper. And you'll see here that you can now add a maximum of 5 images to the Clipper. So what I'm going to do is click on the hand icon, which is what enables you to select your image, and of course, select the image. By default, the first image that I select is the cover image. As you see, it says cover. But there's actually 4 other images here that are available for me to clip for this product. So if you have multiple angles, if you have different fabric swatches, this is a really great way to present, to show these options. So all I'm going to do here is click on the hand button and click on the image. And you'll see that it loads right over here in the Clipper in all 4 different forms of this pillow. And while we're on the topic of products, of course, we're focusing right now on the multiple images aspect of our new release. But I also want to talk about 360 product view in conjunction with it. So what 360 product view will enable you to do is basically edit a product no matter where you are in the project, whether that's on the proposal, the invoice draft phase on Project Tracker, or on the PO. So in order to set yourself up for success, I would recommend adding as many details as possible to your product when you are first adding it to your library. That will be the best thing that you can do. So that's exactly what I'm going to do here while I'm clipping it. So first of all, I'm going to clip the product title. Second, I'm going to categorize this as accessories, add my cost, and you can set your default markup right over here. And I'm going to associate this with my vendor and add my product details. If you have a separate vendor description that will only go for your PO, for example, if you have something that is not client facing, you can always add a separate product or purchase order description right over here. Okay. And you can add this directly to a project, which is what I'm going to do. And you'll see down here the ability to add full product details. This will allow you to add all of your client-facing and vendor-facing information. Again, we want to have as much information here as possible. And the way that you could think about differentiating between what's client-facing and what's vendor-facing is anything that will lead your client to shopping you, like the vendor, the unit cost, the manufacturer, the SKU. None of those will ever be shown to your client. Those are specifically vendor-facing details. However, dimensions, finish and color, materials, those are client-facing and vendor-facing. So we're going to see it on both sides of this product's life cycle, from the client-facing view to the vendor-facing view. So let's go ahead and add a SKU. Let's say I know it's on the website right now. Let's say my manufacturer is Citizens. I will add my materials. I will add my dimensions, finish and color. I'm going to call this cream base. MSRP, I'm going to add my price. Of course, this is just optional. It will never be shown to your client. Any notes or tags. So I can even tag this as pillow, because while I did add a category of accessory, adding a tag will allow me to easily search in my product library for all of my pillows specifically. You could do the same thing with accessories that are brass, for example. You can add the brass tag and then just easily filter through and find what is tagged as brass in your library. So I'm simply going to save this product, and this is going to be added to my product library in Ivy. And everything that we just did in terms of adding multiple images on the Clipper, we can do the exact same thing on the product library. So I'm going to go back into Ivy, toggle over to my product library, and let's go ahead and look for that pillow. So I'm looking at lumbar. I could see it right over here. You could even see, I'm going to zoom in, this little indication that there is multiple images tagged with this. You could see the vendor, you could see the manufacturer, and I'm going to go ahead and click edit. And what you'll see here while I'm in edit mode, you could do this at any point, but let's say you had an intern or something that was pulling and you decide that there's a better cover image, you can always go ahead and hover over to make the cover whatever you want it to be. You'll see the client-facing description as well as the vendor description and all of the details that we input originally. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to my library and show you just one more thing about the multiple images, because historically, obviously this is a new release. Historically, we didn't have this feature available. So I am going to go ahead and update just like a previous product that I have in my library with additional images. So this chair, for example, I can go ahead and click edit and of course add whatever images from my desktop. So if you do have something that you previously saved screenshots of or that you downloaded to your computer, you can simply add them right over here and choose the cover image accordingly. Okay, so it's super simple, hopefully pretty easy for you to use directly from the product library and the Clipper itself. And one more exciting thing while we're in our product and services library that we added the ability to do is to add images associated with services. This is really cool. This is something that I've seen designers do on an individual basis. They have these cute little graphics that say like shipping or service or labor or installation, you know, anything to kind of make it a more pleasant client experience for your client themselves, just because we want them to be able to understand exactly what they're getting on their proposal, their invoice, what they're paying for, and sometimes even just a cute little graphic helps. So I went ahead and added a graphic for installation services right over here. Now, anytime I add the installation service to a proposal or an invoice, it will also appear with an image right by it. And again, these are the things that we are doing to set up for room board. So eventually, by the beginning of March, these are the things that we are putting into place in order to make that magic happen. So if you do have a service and you want to add the image, again, all you need to do is click on the pencil button to edit, and you'll see right over here, you have the ability to add up to 5 images. And same thing, you can select the ability to choose a cover image. Okay. So with that, what I'm going to do is go back to my project. So here I want to talk about multiple images, but also specifically 360. 360 is amazing. And the reason why it's called 360 is because it gives you a bird's eye view of the life, where this product is in its life cycle, and accordingly having the ability to edit specific aspects of it. So let me break this down, starting from the top. So first of all, we just added this pillow right over here directly to our project. When we do that, it adds it as a draft item. What that means is it's in the project, we are ideating, we are saying, okay, we want to pre-allocate this product. It's not yet on a document like a proposal, an invoice, or a purchase order. And what you'll see here is this little eyeball view. Anytime you see this eyeball view in Ivy on a line item means that you are going to be accessing 360. So we have a couple cool things that we could do over here. I'm going to click on the eyeball and you'll see this pop-up appear. Everything at this moment is editable. We have the client title, the vendor, the client description, vendor description, all of the materials, dimensions, manufacturer, everything that we previously saw is editable because this is not yet on a document. In fact, you'll see right over here, proposal, invoice, PO, not editable, or not yet, does not yet exist. So what this means is, let's say we ideated it, we added it to the project, and I want to come back and make any sort of adjustments that are needed. Difference in vendor, I could change the client-facing title, I could change the description here. But one cool thing that you'll see about the description, remember when I talked about what's client-facing versus what's vendor-facing? All those client-facing dimensions that we added, the materials, the color and finish, they're automatically added to the description on the client-facing side. Okay. We can pre-assign this to a room if we need to, but this is what it means to see the 360 version of a product, where it is in its life cycle, and what you can edit right now in draft mode. So again, this image, we can always click on the pencil button. Pencil means edit, and we could see the option to make a different cover image. Okay. Once you do that, just click done and click save. But I wanted to show you what this pop-up looks like in the draft phase, because it's going to look a little bit different when we actually go to the proposal, the invoice, and then the corresponding PO. So with that, let's go ahead and go to the proposal, invoice, and then corresponding PO. So I'm going to toggle over to my proposals tab over here, create new proposal. And of course, because we added this item directly to our project, we see right over here the project drafts, the pre-allocated pillow that we previously selected. And while we're here, I'm going to just go ahead and add a couple more patterned items. And a couple of things, I can't help myself when we're talking about little tips and tricks along the line item. So while I'm on the proposal, I just want to go through a couple of things that might be able to help you. So first of all, you see right over here the payment terms. They default to due on receipt. If you have a different payment terms with your client, net 15, net 30, net 60, custom, whatever it is, you could select that here. The proposal date defaults to today's date, as well as, because this is due on receipt, the due date. If you need to, if you have different payment terms, net 15, what's really cool is you'll see the due date update accordingly. Okay. By default, I am the project owner for this project, and I am also the document owner. So what that means is these line items are going to be assigned to me in 360 in any reporting that we do via the project tracker. I am the assignee for these line items. Okay. So with that, let's go back to the specific line item for this product. First of all, I have the title over here the same title that I pulled from the website. So it's called Adara Lumber Pillow. Let's just say I don't want my client to copy and paste this into Google and find the same product on this pillow. So I'm going to call this decorative pillow. And what's really cool is this becomes an alias for this line item, meaning internally we still know that the product name is actually Adara Lumber Pillow, but on our client-facing side, it will say decorative pillow. If you decide that you want to revert the changes, simply click this reverse button. Okay, but I'm going to still call it decorative pillow. Secondly, right over here on the description, if I expand this, I could see the bigger version of this line item description. And I also have the ability to pop it out. So if it's easier for you to kind of see everything like this, like it is for me, you can always do this. Okay. Again, over here, you have the ability to update image. This means that you can select a different image as the cover image. So there's a couple different places from which you could do that, but we're just going through every single portion of the line item right now. MSRP discount, optional tool. If you do decide that you want to show your client discount off MSRP, we input an MSRP originally. This will show them the percentage off. If you have shipping associated, markup, and whether or not the item is taxable, you can determine that right over here. I can assign any item to a room. So I'm going to assign this to Bobby's room. And then right over here, let's do the same thing. I'm going to update this a little bit, make sure that everything looks kosher, assign it to the living room. Right down here, document tags. This is both client-facing and internal, and it simply allows you to distinguish what this proposal is, because when you have a long list of proposals or invoices, it's important to understand at a glance what each item is composed of. So I could just call this an accessories proposal, assuming that I have more items here. This default memo was set when I created my project or in my account. And if you have any questions, I could always go over that. And I'm going to zoom into the bottom right over here because I always want you to pay attention to the eyeball button. In this case, obviously, this isn't associated with the line item. This is simply going to show you a little bit about what the total cost is, what the markup is, and the shipping markup. I would make it a habit to always check this eyeball button when you are, before you even save your document, before you send it to your client, because I've heard horror stories where people forget to input the markup and then they ended up selling the item to their client at the manufacturer price, at the stock dealer price, which is not something you want to do. Just practice good habits to avoid those errors going forward. You can, speaking of good habits, this is a proposal. One of the great things about Ivy, you can request a deposit on the proposal. For those of you who tune into my webinars all the time, you know how much I'm obsessed with taking 100% deposit on proposals. Simply protect yourself, get that money up front before you pay it out to your client. That's a separate conversation though. So I'm just gonna collect a 100% deposit up front and click save. And take a sip of water while this is saving. Okay, so what you'll see here while we land in the view mode, you'll see over here again the little indication that there are multiple images. If I were to click on them, this is our digital tear sheet, and this is also viewable by the client side. They would be able to also click in and see all the different images. One thing that our team is working on, kind of like the V2 version, second version of the multiple images aspect, is the ability to see these multiple images on tear sheets. So that is coming soon, but we simply wanted to launch first and foremost the ability to add the multiple images, see them digitally, and V2 of tear sheets is coming soon. Okay. When I toggle into manage mode, You'll see a couple of things. Managed mode is your internal mode. It allows you to do a couple of features that are not normally accessible on client view. For example, you'll see the original title versus the alias title. You could see the markup that's included, and you can also drag and drop. And you can group items together, request approval per line item, and allow your client to see markup percentage. Separate story. We're just focusing on 360 and multiple images right now. Okay, so what I can do, once again, we see this familiar eyeball button. This is the same button that we saw when we added our item as a draft in the project tracker. And I want to show you what it looks like now. Okay, so now we see something that's a little bit different. We see, first of all, at the top, this item is on a proposal. And remember how beforehand we had the ability to edit the client description while this was a draft? That was because this item did not yet exist on a document. What you'll see here now, this item is locked. What does that mean? That means that this description is locked from the proposal. It will tell you exactly where this portion of the description is locked and where you need to edit it. So let's say, I don't know, your vendor comes back, something like the measurements change. If that happens, you'll have to go ahead and edit it directly on the proposal itself. But anything else that is still unlocked here, for example, all of our vendor-facing items, the manufacturer, the SKU, the vendor description, even the materials and the dimensions, they are not yet on a PO. So we could still edit them now and then see those changes when we go to create a PO. Okay, so that's the beauty of it. Previously, you didn't really have a way to edit these details unless you edited them directly in the product library. Now you have the ability to make these changes directly on the document or directly in the 360 pop-up via the document, and then see those changes implemented when they go to the next phase of PO. Okay, so that's really cool. And I'm going to show you what this looks like again when we get to the PO side of things. Okay. So I don't want to waste any of your time on this beautiful Friday. I can't believe I've just been talking for 25 minutes. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is simply convert this document to a PO so that you can see how 360 shifts and how it changes and what you need to do and what you need to be aware of, okay? So what I'm going to do here is simply click the three buttons at the top. Of course, you can create tear sheets, you can download this as a PDF, and you can create a PO. So I'm going to do so right over here. I have two items. One thing that I want to point out is, remember our decorative pillow alias title? That is not transferring over. Why? Because this is the vendor title, Adara Lumber Pillow. This is the title that is transferring over. Same thing for this one. We had removed the multiple sizes in the client-facing description. However, this is the true title. This is what's transferring over to the PO. You will basically expect to see one PO for every vendor on your pop-up. In this case, I only have one vendor associated with this proposal. I'm only going to have one PO for this vendor, and click continue. Okay, so I have it right over here. And you can even see another eyeball button. Remember, we love these eyeballs. And this will give you a little sneak peek into what is actually on this purchase order. Okay, so let's go ahead and click edit mode. Let's just dive into the edit. And I'll show you a couple of things on POs. For those of you that joined me in the last webinar of 2018, you'll remember it was po, Merry Christmas. You guys are experts on this. You don't need to have this repetition, but we're here anyways. So why not? We'll see once again the purchase order date, the terms, the document owner is me. I'm the project owner as well. And what you'll see here, which is really interesting, as I make this a little bit more open so you could see the whole thing. First of all, When we originally clipped this item, remember we had added a different vendor-facing description for POs. Here we see that same vendor description. So that is what that means. If you have externally, if you have a different external client-facing view versus vendor-facing view, this is where you could do so. You could change it on 360. You could change it when you clip the product. You can change it when you add it to the product library. But that is what that distinction is. We know what's going to be client-facing and we know what's going to be vendor-facing. So here you'll see our vendor-facing description. You will see this time, which we didn't see on the client-facing side. You'll see the manufacturer. You will also see the SKU. Everything else, materials, measurements, and color finish, are going to be the same as what we saw on the client-facing side. Of course, you can update the image. So let's say you had a rendering as your product image and you have a different client-facing image. No problem. You could simply update it and make it the cover. And you'll see the unit cost, no markup, and the default taxable setting for this product. By default as well, the room tag that you added on the proposal shows up here as the side mark. But if you have a real side mark like Bobby's room, pillow, 1, 2, 3, you could just simply add it right over here. Okay. So what I'm going to do is click Save. And let's take another look at what this product looks like in 360 now. Okay, so I'm simply going to click the eyeball button and you'll see a couple more things that are now locked, right? The vendor description is locked. Why? Because it now exists on a document. If we need to edit this for any reason, Ivy is telling you that we need to edit it directly on this purchase order. Okay, same thing, manufacturer, the SKU, dimensions, materials. These are all already existing on documents, so they are no longer editable from 360. Okay. As I scroll down, you'll see once again the proposal, the purchase order, the selling quantity. Again, that is what is being sold to your client versus the purchase quantity and cost. That is what you are paying your vendor and buying from your vendor. So this will tell you exactly where you need to edit the items, because at this point it is on a document. These are no longer things that you can just edit from the pop-up. You need to edit them on the document itself. But you'll see a couple things here that are still open to being edited. Previously, to access the schedule, you would have to go directly into the project tracker and update it. The beauty here, when your vendor sends you back your vendor invoice with the estimated ship date, your lead time, whatever it is, you can simply add these details right over here. I'm just going to pretend that I could see into the future and know that this is delivered. And you'll see these changes reflected not just on the project tracker, but also in your project's calendar. Okay. And now I can save it. Perfect. So, last thing about 360, we saw the transformation of the product from draft to invoice, or draft proposal to purchase order. Let's go ahead and see what it looks like back on the project tracker. I'm going to go into the project tracker now. And we made all these changes. You'll see the most recent status of these items. They're on a PO. As I scroll across, I could see all of the details that I added. And in this case, for this line item, we see the ship date, the delivery date, the install date. Just like I mentioned, we added it on the purchase order. We are now able to see it directly in the project tracker as well. Okay. So with that, I think that kind of concludes my portion of 360 and multiple images. While I'm here in the project tracker, I do want to show you a couple things that were added probably about 2 months ago. It's been a while since I did my last project tracker webinar in July. And for those of you that tune in, you know how much I'm obsessed with the project tracker. I could live in it. But we have some really cool updates. So for those of you that are new, I just want to show you what those updates are. First and foremost, you have the ability to filter the different views that you see here. So you have item description, you have details and info, and you have pricing and accounting and schedule. So what you could do here is you can filter this down. So let's say you don't actually need to see the scheduling details nor the accounting details. You can simply uncheck these boxes, and now this filters it down significantly. Same thing, you just want to know the item details and the scheduling details. Again, you can play with this as you need to. So that's really cool. It's like changing the view a little bit. You can also filter to see products or services, and filter it once again to see specifically approved, draft, or declined items. Really cool. And the last thing I want to show you here is this little search button. This is my favorite part because when you click on the search button, you have a little search column filter that is added. So I was actually asked a question pretty recently from a designer who asked, she said, how can I see all the items that are on a PO in my project? Well, that's actually pretty simple. First and foremost, if you want to see by a specific vendor, you can kind of do like a double filter here. You could do as many filters as you need. But let's say I primarily want to see the items that are from the citizenry. So I simply add the citizenry, and you'll see now I'm only showing items from the citizenry. And if I scroll across to my accounting details, all I need to do here is actually add PO. And now I will only see items that are on a PO. So that's how the filter, that's how the search column works. Super simple. And those are just some fun updates that we made to the project tracker. Okay. So what's coming up next for our new releases? We have on the horizon the ability to show multiple images on your client-facing tear sheets. We also have room boards on the horizon. Those are coming out in March, and that's going to be really exciting. It'll basically be allow you to ideate per room, add multiple images in a row, basically any products or services that you have in mind, present them to your client with a neutral toggle button for approve or decline, and really have a solid pre-proposal ideation concept. So really, really excited about those things. There's lots of exciting things coming up. But with that, I would love to open the floor to questions and see if anything has come in that I can help you with, because that pertains to multiple images and any questions that you had along the way that I might not have addressed. So let me go ahead and see if anything has come in. Perfect. Okay, so 1 second. I'm doing this by myself, so now I'm just filtering through all the different things. Casey, hi Casey, I love seeing you in the Facebook group. You're so active, it's awesome. You said, can you hide the SKU so consumers don't Google it? The SKU is always hidden from the consumer. From your client. They will never see that. That is only a vendor-facing information. Again, anything that can lead your client to shopping you will not be shown. So SKU, manufacturer, unit cost, the actual title if you added an alias, and the vendor. Those are all hidden from your client. Sue, you were asking, is that the only way to add pics? Not sure which one is the only way, but there are actually a couple of different ways that you can add images. First from the client, from the IV clippers, second from the product library, and then of course on the document itself. So let's actually go into our proposal that we already created. And if you want to add a image, first of all, you can always do update image and then add an image directly from your desktop right over here. Or you can always add a product. And let's say I have a product that I didn't clip, it's an antique product, or I just want to add something off the cuff, I can always click add new product. And right over here, you could drop the images or simply add them directly from your desktop once again. Add all of the details here. and save it. So this is actually exactly how you can add the product, is just in all three ways that you can add a product to your library. That's how you can add images as well. Okay, I hope that helped. Lori, your your question you said was answered. If you would, at this moment, you can't reorder. Your second question was, can you reorder the images? At this order, you cannot drag and drop the images. You can simply select which one is the cover image. But that is a really good question. I want to just see if on manage mode that's possible. I don't think that it is. Let's see in like 360 what it looks like. So just want to confirm that that I'm not misinforming you here. I'm going to go to manage, click the eyeball button. Yes, at this time you can simply, oh, wait. Okay, wait. The pencil button is what we need. So let me try again. Let me add over here. Okay, the pencil button's grayed out because this item's in process over here. Let's do this again from a draft item. Just to see if that reordering works. But I don't think that it does right now, or I don't think that it is a possibility, but let us find out. So I'm going to click the pencil button and add just like 2 images, the ones that I have on my desktop. Yep. And as I thought, it's just changing the cover image. So that is confirming our question. So Lori, these are new to me as well. So Christy, Yippee V2, awesome. Yes, we always have, whenever we release something, it's basically, we always hope to add additional functionality to it. Nikki is asking, is there an option in the works to prevent clients from doing a Google image search on the product picture? I don't know how that could ever be avoided. Unfortunately, if you have a tech savvy client, that is always something that I think is just a bigger part of the industry right now overall that people are struggling with, is clients shopping them and doing whatever they can to find images. So no, I mean, even if we do block the ability to download an image, you could always take a screenshot and Google search it. So I think just from a personal perspective of best practices, being transparent with your client about your markup, about how you work, working with our purchasing agents in the Ivy Discover section to get amazing pricing, to be able to offer your clients still a discount off retail, and having that transparency, saying anything that I add or anything that I propose to you is actually 10% off retail, so that if they image search it, they will find that that's exactly the case. I think that the industry personally is moving towards more transparency, just because technology is changing and we need to keep up with those changes. So that's just like my 2 cents. Okay. Stacy, thank you. Hi, Stacy. I hope you're well. I hope Chicago isn't too cold. You said, how do our clients know they have the ability to see multiple images on the product on the proposal? That's a great question. So right now, I think that, so right now on the client facing, let's see what it looks like on your client side, just for the proposal itself. Because what I want to show you is what they've always been able to see. So we've always promoted the ability to see digital tear sheets on the client's facing side. So first of all, they have that little button right over there. And always, if your client clicks on it, this is what they would be able to see as well. So this is pretty intuitive to me. I would always say the best thing to communicate to your clients is either in the email description saying, there are multiple views if you want to click on it, or even in adding it as a default memo right over here saying, simply click on the items and you will be able to see all the different images associated with it. Adding it as a default memo means that you won't have to type it repeatedly. Same thing for the email. Just a matter of whatever works best for you, Stacy. But they will also get that indication of the multiple images on the cover image itself. Okay. I'm just looking through these questions. Please bear with me. I am by myself here. Okay. Knickerbocker Group is asking, you have put a product on a proposal and decide you want to change the name of it. I understand at that point it's locked in. It shows you where you have to go to update it. Once you've gone to the indicated spot and updated it, will that change show on the existing product in your proposal and PO? If you change the image, or if you change the title on the proposal, and that's where it's indicated that you need to change it, it will show up on that document itself on the proposal. So any changes still that you make on the document will update that product itself. Okay. Hope you are asking a question. If I have a lot of questions here, so hope I'll get back to you if I can. Joanne. Okay, Joanne is asking a great question. If you change the item description in the PO, does it automatically make that change to the product library description? No, it does not. And let me explain why we do that. The way that you can think about our product library is a warehouse of your items. And whenever you add an item from your product library to a document, like a proposal, an invoice, even just a project, what you are basically doing is you are taking a copy of that item. And so any changes that you make in the project are on that product are separate from the product library. And why is that? That product might be existing in a different project and we don't want to mess up anything that that you already have in your other projects. Anywhere that product exists in your projects or in your other projects outside of the one that you are working on, it will not be updated. It's a separate move. So it's the same thing. Anything that we have, like if you were to delete that product in the product library, it won't delete the products that exist or the product as it exists in your projects. Same thing if you delete that item from your project, it won't delete it from the product library. Once you move it into the project, it is its own entity, that product. Mary Ann Kelly is asking for just advice on product clipping on items that the magnification aspect is a little bit hard to screenshot to the desktop. So what I find, it's a little bit hard to clip. So what I actually find is even with the magnification, if I just try to power through and be aggressive and I click on even just the magnified version, it will clip properly. Or if you hover over the image, but pre-magnification and there's the little clipper button, if you should be able to click on the clipper button to pull the image itself. So I'll show you what that looks like. This one is not magnified, but basically if it magnifies once you click on it, or even here I can click on the magnified. Okay, well that didn't really do what I wanted it to do in terms of magnifying it the way that I know you're referring to. But what you could do here is simply click on this image and it will pop up the toggle to the Ivy Clipper and pull the image itself. So that's one way that you could do that. So I need to close that. Perfect. Okay. Deb is asking, can we add a sketch or how would you add a custom pillow drapery? Great question. So yeah, you can always upload whichever images from your desktop. So if you do have a sketch for a custom pillow, or if you have a rendering, if you have anything that you want to add custom, not from a website, you can always update that to the product itself. Alternatively, what you can do, if you do have like a rendering for an image or a sketch for an image, you can simply add it as an attachment if you want your client to see it as part of the proposal right over here, and it will appear as an attachment on your document that they can access. But for custom pillows that may have multiple components, like the upholstery component, the actual pillow itself, and then the labor, if you have 3 different line items, you would basically add 3 different line items. One being, let's say one of these is already I'm just going to add an installation service just to show you what this looks like. Okay, so let's say we have installation right here valued at $200. Drapery, same thing. Anything that you have multiple components, this is what you would do. You would simply add each of those components. And what you can do here is toggle over to manage mode. And all you need to do is click shift and select multiple items. Once you select 2 items, you see that this little pop-up click to group items pops up. All I need to do is click that button. And now I can call this custom pillow. Here, if you have that sketch or if you have that drapery rendering, you can add it as the group image. And there's a couple of fun things that you could do from here. So again, I'm just adding this chair. It's the one that I have on my desktop right now. And there's a couple of really cool things that you could do. So first and foremost, while we're in manage mode, you have the ability for your client to see the group contents. So if you're presenting to them a $30,000 custom sofa, you want them to know what is included in that custom sofa. For example, the body, the upholstery, whatever. You can always let them view the group contents, and then they can access all the group contents. But you don't also necessarily want to show your client how sausage is made. It's easier for them to just see the clean item. Perhaps you just want them to see the final version of what it will look like and what it will come out to as a cost. So that's how you would do any custom items. I do apologize for that pop-up sound. Let me see if I can mute that. And Taya is asking, can you change pricing in the project tracker? That will depend upon whether that item is already in process on another document. So any component of the item that is already on a document will not be editable. So for example, if I have an item that is only on a proposal, like this one, installation, if I click on the view button, this hasn't yet been added to a purchase order. So what I could expect to see here is that I'm able to only edit the purchase cost, because otherwise this already exists on a client-facing document. I cannot edit from the project tracker the selling cost. That has to be done on the proposal itself in order to update it. But the purchase cost has not yet been determined on a purchase order, so I could still edit it there. So that's how 360 works. It allows you to edit the fields that are not already in process. Sorry, I'm just reading. I'm not going blank on you. I'm just reading, and it takes me a second to read. Dana is asking, and now see Ivy is asking to change an approved proposal to an invoice to get paid, but it doesn't need to stay on a proposal to create POs. You can actually, no, so first of all, you can collect payment on a proposal. But no matter what, proposal should only be the first part of your project. You always need to convert an item to an invoice, or convert a document to an invoice, convert your proposals to an invoice, because your invoices are your official documents of income. That is how we determine the taxes, only for items that are on invoices themselves. So invoices, proposals in accounting terms are accounting fluff, basically. You can edit, you can manipulate, you can do whatever you need to do. The beauty of it is that you can collect that payment on the proposal. But in terms of purchase orders, you can convert to a PO from the proposal, or you can convert to a PO from the invoice. It's up to you, whatever works best for your business needs. My personal recommendation is proposal to PO, and then invoice your client once you have the final cost from your vendor. That's my personal recommendation. I have a best practices webinar that I highly recommend you watch on www.ivy.co/Ivy training, which can also be accessed right over here at the bottom, Ivy training. These are all webinars that I've hosted in the past. Most specifically, Set Yourself Up for Success on Ivy is where I talk about the recommended workflows that I recommend. So you can always access those directly from your Ivy account. Okay. Christy is saying, once you group items, you can't view tear sheets. Any plans to update that? That's not true. You can totally view tear sheets from a grouped item. So right over here, we have a tear sheet. And remember, tear sheets are client-facing documents. Here, we are only allowing our client to see the one item, the finalized item. So I expect to have one tear sheets for this right over here. For this grouped item, if I change my mind and I say, you know what, take a look at how complex your custom pillow is, I could simply say view group contents, click tear sheets again, and you'll see 3 different tear sheets actually. One is the custom pillow itself, and then these are each of the individual components. Okay, so I think that is a misconception. Oh, Hope has a suggestion for somebody who had asked, Nikki, I believe, had asked about what you can do to avoid your clients from Google searching it. Of course, this is going to be an alternative to being transparent. She says you can Photoshop the background and flip the image. Great suggestion. Love the community. Love these suggestions. So Brenda, thank you so much for, oh my gosh, there's so many questions. Okay, I'm gonna try to power through this because we have 8 minutes before I'm sure you wanna get on with your day. Brenda's asking a quick question about our changes to the taxable option on documents. This is a really cool feature. I decided not to talk about it today because we might be making just like a handful of updates just based on some feedback that we've received. And I'm planning to do a dedicated webinar on vendor tax, but basically this is the vendor tax feature. It is amazing. I'm so excited to go into detail with you. I could talk about this for an hour, but it is vendor tax. So basically it was an intentional change and we are going to be making some updates on it, and I will have a dedicated webinar to talk about that, hopefully in 2 weeks is my plan. Oh, see. Julie, your question about deleting items from the project tracker. Not sure what the issue is there, but the items that you could delete directly from the project tracker are going to be draft only items. So what I recommend doing, if you do want to delete draft only, I would simply filter this out, just like we saw before, just to see all of your draft items. In this case, I have 2, and I can simply click on that and then click on delete drafts, and it deletes the draft items. So not sure, that's how you would do it. I'm not sure what's going on. And then, yes, Julie, you can always view, I will send you all a recording of this webinar after this airs if you want to share it with anybody on your team. I will also plan to break this up into our help center as well. Yeah, Dana, can you use the project tracker to send or update clients on their project status? Absolutely. Let me show you a couple of cool things that you could do with the project tracker. Again, I could talk about this for days. I love the project tracker, but in this case, I'm not going to. It's Friday. We have 5 minutes left. So the project tracker can be exported into 2 different formats. You have the ability to export it into Excel and into an FF&E schedule. Please keep in mind that FF&E schedule is going to be primarily for a receiving warehouse, but it can work just as well for your client-facing side. Just be aware that one of the default settings that is selected is the vendor. But if this is something that you need for your vendor warehouse, if you need, or for your receiving warehouse, if you need a checkbox for install day, this is really amazing to be able to identify all the things that you're missing. But let's say this is going to be client-facing. I could download this as a PDF and it will download for me. Let me see if this will pop up in just a second. But it will basically have a PDF format with the image and then all of the project status. So if you have like the dates right over here, I'll show you what that looks like. This is what it would look like. And I don't have any dates associated with these items, but how cool is that? Just be aware that there might be vendor-facing information that we would want to navigate. And then you can always export this as an Excel and create a custom report, which is really cool. I know that this looks overwhelming, but this gives you the ability to tailor this to exactly what you need in Excel format. So you can simply, for example, you don't want all the pricing, you don't need that, you only need the room maybe. And they don't need to know your accounting details. You could download this as an Excel as well. Okay. Okay, 4 minutes, rapid fire questions. Let's go. Thank you so much, Marianne. I really appreciate it. Lori, you're so sweet. Thank you. Christy, amazing. Okay, we got through all the questions. With that, I really appreciate you all taking the time. Thank you guys for submitting your continued feedback. Your feedback is super important into making Ivy what it is. We want to make this the best system for you to use to manage your projects and do anything that we can on the product side to help you navigate your day-to-day. Please make sure to just keep sending us those ideas. We rely on you to have them. And if you have any questions about these, you can always get in touch with your dedicated account manager, support@ivy.co. You can email me, sivan@ivy.co, Sivan. You guys are the best. And thank you for making Ivy what it is. We love you. And I'll talk to you all next week, hopefully, or 2 weeks from now. So take care.